this is OM. I'm from GigaOM and I'm talking to
Eric Marcoullier.
And what do you do, Eric?
I'm the CEO of a company called Gnip. You can pronounce it Gnip, Gnip, silent G, doesn't matter, the URL, gnipcentral.com.
So is that mostly because you have the URL?
Gnip is ping spelled backwards.
Yeah.
And so what our initial offering is basically a ping server. And we had the bright idea of naming it ping spelled backwards. Gnip, gnip.com, not available. Gnip Central, totally available.
So what does it mean?
So there's something called data portability, little d, little p, that is this idea, it's sort of an innate part of Web 2. Which
There's
is
many different kinds of data portability.
There is, and so when I talk about it, it's this idea of content reuse. That if you upload a picture to Flickr, that there are various other places that you might like to take advantage of that, whether that's showing up on Facebook, that's showing up in like Legit or Delver, which are social search engines. It could be status messages showing up in a variety of places. The challenge is that the way that that's done right now through RSS and APIs is a fundamentally broken model because it's grossly inefficient. The standard use case now is friend feed having 45,000 Flickr users that they pull for every half hour. And so on an average day, they query 2.9 million times against Flickr's API for a couple of thousand pictures. It's just scarily inefficient. And so what Gnip's initial offering was, it's a ping server that pushes, for instance, Dig or Twitter, other companies, Delicious, push notifications to us that all their users did something, and then we intelligently notify companies like my Bloglog and Plaxo and whoever else that want to aggregate that information. We let them know, hey, a user that you care about just did something, go grab the info.
Right. So tell me, this is more about the inefficiency of the web services model. You're trying to address that.
Initially that was what we solved,
yeah.
But now we've realized that there's a much bigger play here, which boils down to, we're seeing a very nascent industry of services and companies built on, like, almost entirely on user-generated content, whether it's a service like FriendFeed that just takes all of your happenings and ties them together, or again, somebody like Legit that does social search that says, what's your social graph? And when I do a query and when I search for something, I want to know what my friends might have done. Or something like Fuser that takes all of your various dashboards, all of your communication mechanisms, whether it's Twitter or email or IM or Facebook or MySpace, and puts together in a centralized format. All of these services are built on the idea that you've got content in one place, you want to use it somewhere else. And it's a completely nascent space, and I think that we're just seeing the sort of the tip of the iceberg. The challenge here is that so many resources go into pulling all of this content together, and that's the cost of entry. What actually makes an interesting service is what you do with it. So Gnip has a release coming at the end of this month, early next month, where you basically, as a service provider or as a service aggregator, tell us who or what you care about on which services and give us an endpoint, and we push the data to you in real time wherever possible. So basically somebody can wake up one morning and go, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get these 6 services together and build something really fucking cool on top of it. And you say, all right, Gnip, here's our endpoint, here's the people that we care about, or here's the topics we care about, and the data just arrives. And at that point, you can just start working on building something incredible on top of that data.
So, if I understand what you're doing correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you are actually doing what is the equivalent of building an information router.
An information what?
A router for information.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Right, so how does it influence the life of an average person? Like, I mean, I really don't care about what you do, and I really don't care how web services work. How does it translate into, how would you explain this to mom?
Typically, the first thing I do is tell my mom that what I do is very boring because it's infrastructure. But I think that you're going to see the impact of this moving forward in a lot of interesting ways. And there was the article today or yesterday with Marissa Mayer saying that search is 90 to 95% solved by Google. I love Google. I use Google pretty much as my only search engine. It's not even close to being solved. When you search for Bush and you don't know if the engine doesn't know if you're searching for a plant, a person, or porn, we are so freaking far away. And I think that all of the next iterations of search are going to involve either some idea of semantic analysis based upon streams of content from various sort of areas of authenticity, either IMDb, for instance, or Flickster for movies, things like that, and then the social graph. And what we aim to do is make it drop dead simple to take the content from disparate sources, store it in a local place so that you can do interesting activities with that data. We're kind of like the, what is it, BSF or whatever. We don't make the products you use, we make the products that you use better. Our goal is to enable the next generation of people to have the raw materials to solve problems in a completely new way.
I think, I'm not sure that's how you explain to your mother, but I'll buy that argument. Maybe yes, your mom's a total nerd like you. It has to be because I didn't get that consumer aspect to it, but I get what you're doing. Tell me run me through the whole process, how it works.
It works.
How would it, give me a theoretical scenario.
Sure. Well, actually, I'll give you a couple of real scenarios. So Twitter, for instance. Twitter's got an XMPP feed that they send to just a couple of people. It's basically a protocol, XMPP, that they can turn a fire hose of content to different locations. So one of the few places that they send content to is us. And so we get in real time, anytime anybody does anything on Twitter, we get notified about it. And then on the other side, you've got somebody like my Bloglog or Plaxo with their Plaxo Pulse service, where they tell us and keep a list locally with us of the people that they care about on Twitter. And so in real time, we're getting these notifications. And we see that Ohm just Twittered something, we go through a list and go, okay, who cares about Ohm? Lots of people obviously care about Ohm. But in this case, my Bloglog you might have signed up for them, and we'll send a notification out to my Bloglog that says, hey, Ohm just did something, go grab that information. Again, in a month or so, we go one step further and don't even say go grab the information, we just push the information to them. It could also be something like Delicious, where they've got a real-time feed, a public feed of everything that people are doing publicly, and we grab that, and then same thing. As soon as we find out that BPM 140, that's me, just bookmark something on Delicious, we look and see who actually cares about that and fire off that content. Once we start delivering full data, we are providing a significant service for
what is that service though? Explain to me. What will you charge for?
So we essentially charge shipping and handling. So the notifications, that's always going to be free, and if we can get it federated, even better. That'll be wonderful. But so say you're Plaxo, and you build Plaxo Pulse, and that entails doing a custom integration with the API and the RSS feed for potentially dozens of companies. And you're moving forward, if you ever want to get to the point of something like, say, competitive with Facebook, you're going to be integrating with thousands of different APIs and RSS feeds. And each one is a custom integration. You need to know what's the data, how does that map to my templates, and then, all right, build a front end for it. That back end isn't technologically challenging, it's commodity work. But we're essentially saying you don't have to build any of these. We're going to normalize that data for you, make it look like a standard format, push it to you in real time, and then you just worry about the front end.
So in many ways, what you're trying to do is build the messaging bus, like what TIBCO did for enterprises.
That's right. Exactly. TIBCO, Vitria, Grand Central was a couple of years too early. This is very much a solved problem in various spaces. The big challenge is just focus on scaling.
So when people would sign on, they would pay a monthly fee?
Exactly. Well, what we're looking at is going to market with an idea of it's a per service pay or per service play, and there's a freemium model. So up to 10,000, say that's what we're thinking right now, up to 10,000 people or keywords or whatever tracked for, say, Delicious, that would be free.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we'll start charging you a monthly fee.
So who are you the founder of the company? That's it?
I'm one of the co-founders.
Who's the other co-founder?
A gentleman by the name of Judd Valesky. Was early at Netscape and then came over on board AOL with the Netscape acquisition. Big scaling infrastructure guy.
And if I remember correctly, you did a company called My Bloglog.
I did indeed.
And how come you didn't stick around in Yahoo for long?
Because Yahoo is a very big company. And unless you've got experience taking advantage of those resources to sort of juice your company, you flounder. I floundered.
Okay, so they potty trained you.
What was that?
You've been potty trained in saying the right things. Okay, that's called PR speak. Okay, all right, Eric. All the best, and thank you for taking the time and talking to us.
Rock on, amigo.